Hey, this is John,
And I'm Josh.
and we're talking about college football. We're looking at the Week 8 results.
That's right.
Again, there were some interesting upsets, but let's jump into it. And let's start off by talking about some of the very few remaining undefeated teams at this point in the season.
So at this point, I think we're down to 5 teams. They're all in the top 25, obviously, because at this point you have to win at least 7 or 8 games to be undefeated.
Yeah.
And we have 4 teams in the top 10, which are Bama, Clemson, Notre Dame, and UCF.
Yep.
And then we have USF.
In that order.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we have USF, who's also ranked. But the only teams who are actually considered playoff contenders at this point are Bama, Clemson, and Notre Dame. If you notice, UCF hasn't even moved in the rankings, even though they've won 2 weeks in a row. They've stayed number 10. Probably not going to move up much, even in later weeks.
Not unless something happens to the ones in front of them.
Their schedule's starting to look weaker and weaker with USF, even though they're winning, struggling a lot, and now Cincinnati's falling. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's jump into this then. Okay. College football rankings have not come out yet.
Right.
That won't come out until the 30th of
That's
October
correct.
of this month. And so what we have right now, they have Bama as number 1, Clemson not college football rankings, the AP. Bama number 1, Clemson number 2, Notre Dame number 3, and LSU is taking the 4th place.
Right,
As Ohio State dropped out, which we'll talk about.
With Michigan next and Texas after that. And that's kind of some of the movements that's happened. So there's still the typical teams who are right after them and behind UCF.
Yes, that's right. Okay, so first of all, number 1, Alabama took care of Tennessee.
There was never really a moment where they weren't winning. I don't know why anyone thought it could have been an upset.
I mean, what was it? I think they scored 21 points in the first 4 minutes.
They had 28 by the end of the first quarter.
Yeah.
I know that. It was over. Tua gets a bye week now to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he can recover.
His knee is still, I mean, he took his last touchdown pass before he was taken out of the game and Jalen came in. He took a good hit, and again, he was tender on that knee. So, yeah.
So this is good for him. Bye week.
It is. And then of course they faced LSU the following week.
Right.
Which is going to be a major showdown.
It will. It'll be awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, are you ready for this? Number 2, Ohio State. They went to Purdue and played the Boilermakers. We didn't even talk about this game last week.
I don't think so.
It was not on our radar because who would have thought the Boilermakers could manhandle Ohio State? But okay, I would say this. It's not just manhandling. Ohio State couldn't do anything.
49-20. Holy moly.
Yeah.
Like, what does that even mean for the Big Ten is my question. Like, if Ohio State can get beat that badly, and yet they've beaten teams like Penn State and stuff, and you lose to Purdue?
Yeah, Purdue, who had already lost 3 games coming into this one.
It was ridiculous. Purdue dominated the whole game.
Kudos to you, Purdue.
They want Bama.
Good grief, that was great. Okay, so as far as the Big Ten, the Eastern Division, right now Michigan is now in the driver's seat.
And they played
Michigan and Ohio State right behind them.
And Michigan just beat Michigan State, so that's right. That's another game we can talk about. Michigan just beat Michigan State 21-7.
Yes,
good game for them. Honestly, won by the defense.
Yeah, because Michigan State couldn't really do anything. But okay, Michigan State won that game against Penn State, which seems to have been a fluke because Michigan State has not had a good season.
I called that game.
I know you did. It was a great call. But the whole point is, Michigan State's not a good team. I mean, they're not a good team. So Michigan should have dominated them, and they did. They did a good job. They probably should have scored more than they did.
Probably, but in the end, they got the win, and it's a rivalry game, so
yeah,
kudos to the Wolverines.
Yes. All right, so, and then Michigan State still looms at the end of Ohio State's season as well, so that's big. All right, so let's talk about... Michigan faces Ohio State at the end of the season. That's right, their final game. All right, so as far as one of the upsets that you called, you said North Carolina and Clemson, it was pretty ugly.
Yeah, man, 24-0 at halftime, and then everything, they couldn't fix anything even during the halftime. Nothing went for NC State. Finley struggled. Defensively, they were just shut down, and offensively, Clemson ran over them. Like, absolutely demolished them. pretty much securing Clemson's spot in the playoffs here. I can't see any ACC team really beating them.
Yeah, and whoever Clemson's playing for the rest of the season, if you look at the rest of their season, they have no. I mean, this is their most formidable team that they were going to face.
Who would beat them? Miami? They lost to Virginia. Virginia Tech. They lost to Old Dominion.
Yeah. They may face. I don't know if Virginia Tech's going to end up on top of the other side of the conference or not. But regardless, whoever Clemson faces, they're going to win it. Yeah. Clemson's got their spot.
Most likely. Yes. Unless something huge like the Ohio State game happens.
Exactly.
And Clemson usually has close games and actually wins them.
Yeah. So but also, Dabo Swinney's a much better coach than Urban Meyer, in my opinion.
I would agree.
He just is. Definitely a much better quality person than Urban Meyer. Okay, let's jump off that one. All right, so then Mississippi State went to Death Valley and played LSU.
No surprises here. I will say, if LSU wants any chance in 2 weeks now to beat Alabama, they need to learn how to score a touchdown and not a field goal. Because the ending score is 19-3, and I'm pretty sure they scored 1 touchdown and 4 field goals. I mean, yes, the score, they beat them handily, but
LSU's defense did a fantastic job.
Absolutely.
I mean, they shut Mississippi State down. Nick Fitzgerald, he didn't. I don't even know how many yards he got, but I know he didn't get 100 yards. He got some yards.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, he was the most potent part of Mississippi State's offense.
But he was also the biggest part that hurt them with his interceptions.
Yes.
Poor decisions as a quarterback on the third season.
Horrible interceptions.
So LSU also
his running was decent. As a matter of fact, they had no running backs that did better than him. But so
LSU gets a bye week and
Alabama gets a bye week.
Interesting.
Yeah, it will be interesting. Okay, then we already as far as the other upset that you were talking about, and that was Oklahoma and TCU. Didn't happen.
I mean, it was close going into the second half.
Okay. Right, which happens a lot with these games.
And then it just went all downhill from there. I was getting all excited, and Oklahoma just steamrolled them second half, showed their talent.
27. Yeah, it got ugly.
Murray, still a Heisman candidate, still doing good.
Let's talk about another interesting one. Oh my goodness. So, the game day game, Oregon went to Pullman, Washington to play Washington State. And I'll just say this, game day started on East Coast. It started at 9 a.m. That was like 6 a.m. in Washington. And they had 30,000 people out there.
They were super excited. They were so excited to hold this game. And their team essentially won it in the first half.
They did. Oh, well, they were just not, they were tenacious. They would not quit. They would not give up. Second half, obviously Oregon began to start, because they had just dominated Oregon the first half. And Oregon started coming back. It started getting a little bit
You could also see kind of the conservative play calling that Washington State started making, kind of more of a let's hold on to our lead and let's build our lead type of mentality.
Yes.
You could tell that they got the dub. They did what they needed to do. Pac-12, I don't know what's happening. Can Washington State win it? What? How are they all of a sudden in the picture as well? So now you have a battle between Oregon, Washington State, Stanford, Washington, all these teams that still have a chance of winning the Pac-12.
This definitely makes the Washington State-Washington game in the future
a lot more interesting.
Absolutely. Yes. And that one's gotten really interesting.
Speaking of Washington.
Washington. So they played Colorado and at home.
In the end, they were able to win this game. They seem to struggle a little bit, kind of super slow. But honestly, I've never really watched a Washington game where they just go out and explode. They're kind of one of those teams that gets the lead that they need and then just holds on to it.
To me, that's just really odd with Jake Browning. I mean, as good of a quarterback as he is, why not? Talented. Why aren't they exploding? I'm not sure what that is.
But they beat Colorado. Colorado's off their little high of winning 6 straight. Now they've lost 2.
Yeah.
So, bye Colorado.
That's right. That's right. And then Penn State went to Indiana, and Indiana made this a close game.
Got an onside kick at the end. Got an onside kick at the end, and then just some very poor play calling caused them to not even have a chance of driving down the field. But I don't know what was up with Penn State. Maybe
not sure.
Teams are starting to show their real colors now. It's the second half of the season.
Yeah.
and Indiana gave it their best but couldn't win. Penn State did win, and that's what matters.
Yeah,
They pulled it out.
33-28, and so they did pull it out. But then you have Cincinnati. Okay, what do you say about this?
This is
Cincinnati and Temple.
this is one of the struggling AAC teams that's supposed to be so great, and unlike USF and UCF, they couldn't pull it off.
They could not pull it off. Yeah.
So Temple upset them. I think AAC is going to start slowly collapsing as the season moves on, that their true colors are going to start showing. They're just not as great as people, or I don't even know if people think they're great except them.
Yeah.
So we'll see. No respect for the AAC. Sorry, Bobby. But yeah. Next, speaking of,
UConn and South Florida played.
UConn.
UConn. Wait, they've only got like one win this season, right?
Right.
Yeah.
They've been demolished by every team they've played. Like, they are not
and that's the key thing. They've been demolished by every team they've played. So South Florida plays them, coming in ranked number 21, playing at home too for South Florida, and they struggle. I mean, it's a 38-30 game at the end. What do you say?
I don't understand. If you are undefeated, like, you want to know why South Florida is ranked 21st when they're undefeated? It's because they're not good.
They struggle against somebody like UConn.
Yes. Like, you want to know why UCF isn't moving up in the rankings? It's because they struggled against Memphis. And I said this last week. There is still no respect. If you want to be noticed as a group of 5 team and given the respect you deserve, you need to beat every single team you're playing by 30 plus points.
Not only that, it'd be really good to play a Power 5 team that's actually
that's
good.
Not North Carolina.
It's actually good somewhere along the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
A decent Power 5 team. And yeah, those teams are not playing those. And I know it's a matter of scheduling, and gosh, you schedule 10 years in advance, but you got to be thinking about that. If you really want contention and want that respect, you got to do that.
Yeah.
All right. So then, as far as SEC, Auburn and Ole Miss played at Ole Miss. Auburn,
they needed this win.
They did, and they did it well. 31-16. They didn't struggle. It's not a surprise. I mean, Ole Miss they're not good. So it's not a surprise that Auburn did it. But as much as Auburn's been struggling, it was very important for them to win this one big, and they did.
And they did. Good for them.
Yeah.
Congrats to Auburn.
All right, let's look at Mountain West. Mountain West, I really don't know what to think about Mountain West.
We have 3 teams almost in the rankings now, and they're doing good.
Yeah.
But as far as the Broncos go, still trying to figure out, who they are really. But they were able to handle Colorado State.
Some weeks they play just out of their mind, ripping just great, like he did this week.
Right, 26,
another 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. I mean, it's like great week. But yeah, it
who
just
knows?
Doesn't happen every week.
I will say there's definitely still a race for who's gonna, not Boise. I don't think they have any chance at all. But as far as what team's gonna get the bid for the Group of 5 inside the New Year's Six Bowl, UCF doesn't have it in the bag, and I honestly believe that. So we'll see what ends up happening later on in the road. But once they lose, you're going to see the respect that they're getting from the rankings because they're going to drop.
All right. Well, that was Week 8, and join us when we talk about the Week 9 preview.